It was 8 in the morning already. After I read that last entry, I could do nothing but sit on the floor and cry. Judy, Mary, Alice, the woman I loved. I felt betrayed, conflicted, scared and heartbroken. It was a heartbreak I haven't felt before, not even when she left. A pain so deep I never knew humans could feel. I was a very lonely person. People always assumed it was cool. Detective Matthew Bryan, that mysterious young man always arriving at the crime scene and solved the most complicated cases. But that was never how I felt. Yes, I am very good at solving cases. And yes, I never made any friends from the police guys I worked with. But I never saw myself as glorified as they saw me. I was pathetic. What was I living for? I had no one. I didn't care about anyone but me and my cases. Something in me changed when I met Judy. I remember the first night I saw her. It was a cold December night. People were getting ready for Christmas, while I was working on a very dark case. There was a serial killer who's been terrorizing the city for over a year. His kill count was 26, average 2 victims per month. All the victims were females. Their bodies were found mutilated with various signs of struggle. Also, most of them were raped. This sick man loved to torture and rape his victims while they were fully conscious. All victims were said to have been seen at public places before they went missing, only to be found in that terrible state a week or 2 later. I was always on edge, and this case was really getting under my skin. I've been on his trail for 9 months, and still no results. The police were also getting very impatient with me. I was supposed to be the one who solves it, not get stuck like them. I went into a coffee shop. I wanted to get some warmth and a hot beverage. As I entered, I could see this barista standing very tense. I could read anxiety and distress all over her body. It took me a few seconds to realize why. There was a man at the desk staring at her. He was staring in a very creepy way, like a predator. I could see how uncomfortable she was. When I think about it now, maybe she was just fighting the urge to just lunge at him and drain him of his blood and ending his pathetic life. Anyway, I decided to do something. So I came into view, blocking his gaze from her. Suddenly, her face shifted and I could see her clearly. Her body relaxed and she smiled at me, asking for my order. She had shoulder-length hair. It was a mixture of light brown and blonde. Her hazel eyes glimmered as she smiled at me. I was awestruck immediately. I've never seen a girl this beautiful in my entire life. Matter of fact, I rarely interacted with people or tried to be open with them. Not since I lost my mother and 2 weeks later got my heart broken by my school crush. I was younger at that time. These events were so hard for me to take that I locked myself from the outside world, only drowning myself more and more into the mythology and fiction that I love to read. I was about 15, and that was when I started to read more about crime cases and thriller novels as well, and that's how I started my detective career. I solved my first case at 20. I wasn't part of the police or anything, but there was a famous case at that time that they couldn't solve. But I did. I managed to solve it and came forth to them to inform them my findings. They became in contact with me ever since, calling upon me to help them whenever things get too complicated. I never was a talkative person and rarely interacted with them. Anyway, something was different when I saw her smiling at me. For the first time in my life, I felt an uncontrollable urge to talk. We had some small talk. I learned her name and she told me she's only been in town for 5 weeks. I guess that was her new guise. She asked me about what I do, and I told her only very few about my work. I preferred keeping my personal life for me, even if I felt like talking to her. The more we talked, the more I was drawn to her. I couldn't break eye contact. I was kind of lost in her eyes. I broke from that trance when the creepy man got up and finally left. She sighed in relief and thanked me. She gave me my cup, and after I drank it, I was on my way. I didn't want to leave. She was so sweet, and speaking with her was very heartwarming for someone who was as anxious and stressed as I was. But I knew I had to leave. As soon as I walked out, I got a call from the police. There was another victim. My heart sank and I could feel the stress and anxiety coming back to me. I rushed to the crime scene, but this time something was different. The victim was alive. I don't know how she survived, but I was glad she did. It seemed the killer was in a rush and didn't perfect his mutilating. He only slashed her right arm and stabbed her belly, but it wasn't lethal, luckily. She was taken to the hospital and remained unconscious for 3 days. I stayed by her side all that time, as if she was my own mother dying. Throughout the 3 days, I could still remember the pretty barista and her cute smile. I could still hear her soothing voice in my ears, and it helped me relax a little. This was the first time in my life that I felt such love from within me. It showed when I decided to stay with the poor victim and not leave her side. On the 4th day, when she eventually woke up, I told her what had happened and asked her if she remembered anything. She told me she was at a Christmas shop buying decorations for her house. She was on her way back home when she noticed a stranger following her. She tried to increase her pace, but he got to her and pulled her into a side alley. He stabbed her, but she couldn't scream, and then he raped her and cut her arm while doing it. She heard a siren from a distance, and he ran away, leaving her to bleed to death. And that's when the police found her. They were patrolling the area for any possible troublemakers at such a late time at night. They weren't expecting to find her. I asked her if she could remember anything specific about his features to help me identify him. This was my lucky day. She did not only do that, but she was an artist and drew his face perfectly. I was shocked when I saw her drawing. It was the man from the coffee shop. I then began to put the pieces together. He was eyeing the barista to be his next victim. I angered him when I broke his gaze, so he rushed outside wanting to quench his thirst. He happened to come across this poor lady and did his deed. He wasn't prepared, however, and that's why he ran without finishing his work. It made perfect sense as the crime scene was not far from the coffee shop as well. I was starting to panic. The barista, she's his next victim. I rushed to the coffee shop looking for the barista. She was taking orders from the people. When she saw me, she gave me a smile, but then she realized how distressed I looked. I ran to the other barista and asked her where they kept their camera feeds. She asked me who I was, and under what authority I am demanding such a thing. I was not part of the police. I couldn't get access unless I had an official statement. I called one of the policemen and told him about the situation. He came an hour later with a warranty to search the footage. During that hour, I got to speak with Judy. She asked me what was going on, and I told her not to worry and everything would be fine. She asked me where I've been for the past 3 days. I told her about the victim. This was the first time I shared a personal matter with her. She looked at me with genuine concern and put a hand on my shoulder. She asked me if I was okay. I stared at her eyes, and I don't know how much time had passed, but it felt like a lifetime, although it was only a few seconds. I then replied with a calm voice, Matthew Bryan. She was confused. Last time she told me her name was Judy, but I never said mine. She blinked twice and then understood what I meant. I took her hand off my shoulder and gave her a reassuring nod. When the police came, we checked the feed and managed to get his face. We tracked him and found where he lived. He was arrested within a week and case solved. After that, I took daily visits to the coffee shop at the start of my day and at the end of the day. I just wanted to see her. We talked a lot and I got to know her better. Or at least I thought so at the time. I've never been fascinated by anyone in my life the way I was fascinated by her. She felt so easy to talk to, and I felt drawn to her more and more. I asked her out and we went on a few dates. 6 months later, she moved in with me and we lived together, a happy couple. I was no longer lonely, no longer that closed person. Even the guys I worked with at the police could see it. I became more friendly with them and more talkative. I was truly happy. Now when I think about it, with the newly acquired knowledge I have, I didn't know what to feel. The past 8 years of my life were a lie. All this time, I felt I was the hero who saved the girl he loved. But no, she could have killed that predator without breaking a sweat. I was not her savior. She used me to hide from the world. For 8 years, I was her cloaking spell. I couldn't tell if she really loved me. I mean, if she did, why would she lie to me and keep all that from me? Didn't she trust me? And if she didn't love me, why did she leave to protect me from those so-called vampire hunters? Or even from herself? Why didn't she kill me and feast upon my blood? Did I somehow reminded her of that prince she locked in her cellar all those centuries ago? I was so tired. I spent the entire night awake, finding out a lot of shocking and disturbing facts that I wish I never knew. I tried to get some sleep. I don't know how long I have slept, but something strange happened. When I awoke, I wasn't home. I found myself in a dark room, bounded to a chair. Was this a dream? What was happening?